John Herbst is a former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine and a senior director of the Atlantic Council's Eurasia Center. He joins me now live from Washington. Ambassador, great to have you here with us on TRT World. So why would President Putin make such a demand in the first place? It seems almost impossible to imagine because even if President Zelenskyy agreed to go to Moscow, how could Russia truly guarantee his safety given the current circumstances unless international forces are allowed to accompany him? So what do you think is really behind this demand?
Putin recognizes that Trump's patience is getting very thin. And, he refused to see Zelenskyy, and Trump is getting angrier. And so Putin decided it would be smart to offer a little bit of flexibility. And I say just a little bit, a tiny bit, a microscopic bit of flexibility, because it's, of course, outrageous to invite Zelenskyy to Moscow. There's first a matter of, you might say, diplomatic prestige, the victim country going to visit with the aggressor country in the aggressor capital. But there's also the fact that you can't exactly put it past Putin to do something nasty to Zelenskyy in Moscow. So, but this Putin can say, well, see, I'm flexible, and see if that satisfies President Trump. If it does not satisfy President Trump, and I think it probably will not, although it may take a little bit of time for that to be evident, then Trump will continue to push Putin to have a meeting with Zelenskyy in a proper place, a neutral site. And then we'll see if Putin is willing to do that.
Okay, then let me ask you this, because certainly the contrary view here is that President Putin himself recently traveled to the United States, a country that is an adversary of Russia. So if Putin can make that trip, why can't President Zelenskyy travel to Moscow to meet him?
Well, it is true that Russia is an adversary of the United States because that's Russia's stated goal to seriously reduce American influence and power. But it's very different to be an adversary than to be an aggressor whose troops are occupying a victim country. So there's no comparison. It just doesn't work.
And Ambassador, one way or the other, we all know that this war will eventually end. The question is, how? Looking at the current developments and considering the rhetoric that has been coming from Moscow, Kyiv, the European Union, and the United States, what do you think is the most realistic path to a resolution?
I think that Trump has the power to achieve his objective of a durable ceasefire or a durable peace agreement in a manageable period of time, and I would actually define that as many months, maybe extending into over a year, if Trump pursues that goal vigorously and intelligently. Putin does not want a ceasefire, does not want a peace agreement. He wants to take far more land in Ukraine. He wants to have effective control of the country, leaving at best a rump, landlocked Ukrainian state in Western Ukraine. To do that, he needs a lot more time on the battlefield. Trump can put major pressure on Putin. He's tried to persuade Putin with gifts, right? With talks about trade, with talks about further Ukrainian concessions of land, etc. And he's got nothing, bupkis. So those of us who know Russia and know what Putin's up to are not surprised by this. I think President Trump is coming to understand that the only thing that might move Putin to actually look at a serious, durable peace is American pressure in the form of huge economic sanctions on Russia and its trading partners, but also major advanced weapons supplies to Ukraine, which per the Trump White House can be paid for by the Europeans.
Ambassador, the Ukrainian demand is that it wants Russia to withdraw from all occupied territories, including Crimea. Do you think that's likely to happen if there is a deal of some sort in the future? Or do you think there's going to be some sort of concessions?
Zelenskyy has made clear, although he hasn't spelled out exactly how or what, that he is prepared for territorial compromise as part of a lasting settlement. Territorial compromise would mean Russian retaining control of much of the territory that is currently conquered, but de facto control, not de jure control. In other words, no international recognition from either Ukraine or its partners. of Russian control in those territories. Putin has demonstrated zero flexibility. Even if he agrees to meet Zelensky, that's process flexibility, not substantive flexibility.
Fascinating insights. Ambassador John Herbst, thanks very much for joining me here on TRT World. Really appreciate your taking out the time.
My pleasure. Thank you.